concerns over any of this? What short, specific questions do you have talking about adding some spice to your stories? No? Okay. So, we are going on. Crutch words and fillers. Crutch words and fillers. There was a lady in here last hour who had asked, well, if I use a particular word, why does that kill my credibility? There are a number of things that could possibly hurt your credibility. Well, so if I came up here and every other utterance was you would not see me as credible, because you would think I'm trying to make up what it is I'm saying as I go along, even though I've practiced real rehearsals several times. That's why we want to eliminate those utterances. Well, how did they get there? I think that when we were kids, and I've been told it's probably more prevalent in America than in other places in the world. I believe that it's when we were kids, we were talking to our parents, and we wanted to say something, and we didn't want little Joey to chime in when we were in the mid-sentence. So we would, just to kind of denote that we're still talking. Really? Shut up, Joey, I'm not done. Don't butt in. I think that's where that comes from. But we need to train ourselves to eliminate that. Okay? As much as possible. So, just someone, well, you know. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a commencement, and the author was a best-selling author, a great book, told a wonderful story, but she would be talking, and then she would kind of just and every other sentence was, and she would also tisk. So, like that. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And this is in front of thousands. And I'm like, my wife is a librarian, so I'm like, honey, this is terrible. Shut up, she's a great author. Okay, but I'm a speaker and I'm just cringing. So if you write a book, if you write a report, if you do something, your presentation of it should be as polished and professional. It really should. Otherwise, you tend to lose credibility. Now, if you have any issues with going those utterances, or maybe you have a favorite crutch word or phrase, so at the end of the day, there was a guy who at the end of the day would always start a new sentence with, at the end of the day, this is what we're going to do, and then at the end of the day. And in meetings, people were not, do you know somebody who fits that description? I didn't mean to hit home. At the end of the day, when people were sitting in a meeting, they were less keying in on what it was that he was saying and going tick mark, tick mark, tick. They were counting the number of times he said at the end of the day. It's distracting. So be mindful of those things and try to eliminate them as much as possible. Very important. Well, here's some things that you can do to remove some of those crutch words. Number one, slow down and just breathe. Slow down. There's that old adage that don't run if they ain't chasing you. They ain't chasing you. Slow down. You can take the time to think your thoughts and speak them. A lot more eloquently than heard. Another thing to do is be confident in your topic. Know what it is that you're doing. So you're not just winging it. You've practiced. You've practiced in front of a mirror. Oh, wait, I don't want to do that. You've practiced with audio by recording yourself. Oh, wait, I don't want to do that. So I'm amazed at how many times people don't want to record themselves on audio or on video, or at least look at themselves in a mirror, but yet they're going to subject everybody else to that. Doesn't make sense to me. Audio is a wonderful way to see where you make some mistakes and things you need to polish on up, and what you do well. So you need to do that. Practice that. Practice, drill, rehearse. With that comes confidence. Now there is this old adage that says, practice makes perfect. No, perfect practice makes perfect. Practice. Have a friend count. Actually do a segment. And say, look, I'm going to go and present this. I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to present it to you. Will you just kind of let me know if I'm doing something, because we do it unconsciously. Let me know how many times I go or if there's a favorite word I like to overuse many times. And if it's a true friend, he or she will be honest with you. Pause. Let's go into the Q&A session. Q&A session. How do we handle questions and answers? Does anybody here kind of cringe when it comes time for any questions and answers? You feel pretty confident about that? Well, there is, and I'm very analytical, and so many times if I start to relate an experience that I've had, I used to have this bad habit of laying down all the groundwork and answering all the questions for everybody beforehand, so when I'm done talking, they won't have any questions. They will have answered them all. Problem is, 2-3 minutes into my presentation, it's a snooze fest. So it's okay to kind of leave a few things open that people can ask some questions later on. And each audience might take a little slightly different slant in terms of where they want to go with your presentation, your curriculum. So they might need a certain segment more of it than some of the others. Let's talk about handling the Q&A session. All right? Well, number one is prepare beforehand. If you're presenting on a new system, and you've already presented this 2 or 3 times before, you know the top 6 questions that you're going to have. So prepare for them. Even have them written down. And as a prompt, if you need to, write down some really quick answers. So prepare beforehand for those. Don't bluff. Don't make up something. You will get caught. You will get caught. Especially with now everybody has a cell phone, a smartphone, and they can just double check what you're saying. Okay? So don't bluff. Don't make something up. Don't feel the pressure that you have to know everything. All right? Practice. Practice your Q&A session. You know how it's going to go. Seek advice. What's another good tool that we can use while handling questions and answers? Who has an idea?
Practice a friend who will give you honest feedback so that they can tell you.
Okay, practice for our friends who will give you honest feedback so they will tell you. What else? Yes? Pose the question to the audience. You are so ahead of me. Because what did I do? I just asked who else has a good device for Q&A. All right, see what I did? So you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. It's nice if you are, but with me it never happens. But just, you can put it out to other people. So if someone, especially if someone's asking for something that's really specific, oh gosh, I don't know, who has an answer for that? And many times someone will, I had that experience last year, let me tell you what I did. Yeah. All right? Yes.
Question.
I have the answer.
So how do you handle, what's the best way to handle a question if you don't know the answer to the question?
Well, a good thing is to say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. And sometimes you just kind of have to be vulnerable and say, you know what, I wish I could tell you the answer to that. I don't know. And then you can pose it to someone. Does anybody else know? Well, you know what? Give me a day or two to kind of look that up and see if I can do some research on that. I've got your email, and I'll shoot you a message on that, and then we'll both discover together, okay? Just kind of like that, all right? But the Q&A, you'll notice, whenever I ask for, are there any questions over what we just discovered, what we just discussed, I will say, are there any short, specific questions on this topic? There's a reason why I do that. Patricia Fripp, who is a public speaking, I mean, She trains public speakers. This is where I learned that from her. What short, specific questions do you have? Now, I've learned through the years to add to that, what short, specific questions do you have on this topic? Because otherwise, someone may just like to hear the sound of their voice, and they just go on and on. I went to this martial arts conference years ago, and there's this grandmaster who was doing Q&A, and there were 50 people in the room. And we were just kind of asking him questions. What about this? What about that? Yada, yada. And there was this one older gentleman with a long beard down to here. And I don't remember his name, but I just knew to avoid him after that day. I swear to God, he started talking about, he asked a question, but then he went into this thing about how, this is back in the 80s, how the government is using the frequency of television sets to really monitor control our mind, and they can affect the way we think and interact with other people. And the Grand Master, I guess he was just laughing on the inside. Just let this guy go on for like 5 minutes, And then, so then at the end of the question, or whatever this guy was talking about, he just simply said, no, next question. Like, why did you let this guy go on this long? Look, another 2 minutes, we'd all been wearing foil hats. We would. So it's just weird. But, so you don't want someone to hog the conversation because they like the sound of their own voice, or they're trying to figure something out. Sometimes people will talk because they try to figure something out, and I get that and I appreciate that, but not to the expense of all the other people. So that's why I say, what short, specific questions do we have on this topic? All right.
So as you ramble on, come on.
Going over here. Sometimes I may very politely, tactfully say, well, that's an interesting topic. We can talk about that after the seminar because I think it might be more specific to you. That's what I typically do. So I say, that's something that's specific to you. Let's talk about that later, after. I'll be happy to. Okay. Yes, ma'am?
So is practice in this case more like having background or research of your topic to be prepared to answer the question? I guess I don't get how you practice a Q&A except for being knowledgeable about the topic.
Well, like this lady here said, have a friend kind of play devil's advocate with you. Okay. You can do that. What kind of questions would there be? And even if you've done this before and you know what the 5 or 6 main questions are that people are going to ask, standing in front of a mirror. Look, I haven't talked to a mirror since I was a teenager. Well, it's a lot of fun. You can do it again. Standing in front of a mirror and practicing giving those answers with a smile on your face. Okay?